What's up, guys? It is Chris back with another watch video, and today we are looking at the Accutron Spaceview DNA. Before I get into it though, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. So getting right into it, this beautiful watch that I have before you is the Accutron Spaceview DNA. I am very excited about this watch. I have been excited about it since I saw it, and now that I have it in my hands in person, it does not let me down. This is a really cool watch. It has a very cool movement. The case, everything about this watch, I really do love. So this was inspired by the original Accutron Spaceview from the 1960s. However, obviously, this is an updated movement, an updated case, and it looks completely different in my opinion. The case itself is super futuristic. You have sort of a two-part case. There are DLC areas, and there is obviously stainless steel. This comes in a few different colors. There's an all-black version, there's a gold version, and there's also a blue version, which is kind of different from all the rest. This is the green version, which is very true to the original 1960 Spaceview. So you have that green ring that goes around the dial. That is lumed. The hands are lumed, and the lume is actually pretty good on this watch. So we're going to do a lume shot. You have an enameled crown on here, which has the tuning fork, and it's enameled green. The case back is screwed in, and then the strap itself is screwed in with three screws on each side. I'll do a close-up of that. It comes on this rubber strap with a really nice deployment buckle, as you can see, and it's very, very nice, actually, very well made, very high quality. Accutron actually is now its own independent brand from Bulova. So previously it was Bulova Accutron. Now Accutron has been separated out from Bulova. They're under the same umbrella, that is Citizen. So that means that the movement in here is actually a Citizen movement. This is made by Miyota in a Miyota factory, the NS30Y8A. I don't think that's a bad idea. I think it's a good idea in my opinion. 28 joules. This is an electrostatic movement. Very, very different, something very, very new. Essentially what this does is there are two twin turbines. So at 6 o'clock or between 6 o'clock, there are two different little spinning wheels. And when you move your wrist, those wheels actually create static electricity. So you could see that they actually move when I'm actually moving the watch around. So almost like an automatic movement, you get a little bit of a vibration in the actual watch itself. It's very, very faint. You could barely feel that it's there. It's very similar to an automatic movement. If you don't notice it, you won't notice it. And if you do, it's only when you're actually very, very still with the watch and holding it in your hand. That powers a motor. That motor is right there at 6 o'clock, at 9 o'clock. And that's an electrostatic motor that actually powers the hand. And the hand has a fluid movement. It's absolutely perfect. It moves fluidly across the dial and very, very smoothly. And you can see that. I'll do some close-ups of the actual dial. And really, I say a dial. This is not a dial. Obviously, this is the movement. I'll do some close-ups of the movement of all of those little motors. And then there's another motor that actually powers the hours and minutes hands, which you cannot see. But you can see from that second hand how perfect, how fluid, how smooth that sweep second hand is. And it's really something special. Just an all-around very, very special watch. Now, very quickly, I'm going to show you what I have on my wrist. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because it is the black version. Now, this is actually a photo model. So this does not have a movement in it. It just has a dummy movement inside. So you can't really, there's no movement. So it doesn't actually tell time. The crown doesn't pull out. However, they sent me this just so that I could feature it as well. And you could see the difference between the black version and the green version. So here's the green version on my wrist. I just wanted to do a quick shot of this with the green on the wrist. You can see I have a 7.5 inch wrist. So this is a 45mm watch. It does wear large. It wears large because of the bracelet itself, which kind of flares out, as you can see. However, I mean, this does wear large. It's got a big proportion to it. So if you do have a small wrist, this might be a little bit hard for you to wear. It is a large watch. That's just the way it is. I don't know if they'll come out with something smaller. You could see the black, it looks even bigger, I think, on my wrist than the silver does. It just looks big. It is big. I have a 7.5 inch wrist. I think I could pull it off, but it is large. I really do like these watches, but that is one thing I have to say about them. They are quite large, especially the lug to lug. Because of that strap, you can see it wears like a large watch. So like I said, the case on the black version is basically all DLC plated black, and then those areas that are sort of like a gunmetal color on the green are gunmetal on the black as well. But then that ring is also black, and then of course that skeletonized part, which is kind of like what the dial is, where it's actually signed Accutron, and you have that tuning fork, is in black as well, that matches that case. But you have brushing, you have polishing on the black portions as well. On the actual, on the green version, those portions are in gunmetal. Just a really cool, beautifully executed watch. The crowns on these are again enameled. Even on the black one, it's enameled black, and they're just push-pull. There's nothing. You're not screwing down crowns. These are only 50 meters water resistance, so nothing too incredible, but really not that bad. I gotta say, I want one of these watches. I'm going to have one of these in my collection. I need to. These are 316L stainless steel. The only problem that a lot of people have pointed out, and I've done some posts on Instagram, they are large. Now, they're large because of the actual case size, but the way that the case actually fits on your wrist, because of the way that the strap actually fits on your wrist as well. You can see here, it does mold to your wrist, so you need to have somewhat of a larger wrist to wear this. But these are 45 millimeter watches. They're a little bit over 45 millimeters, and then they aren't thin either because of that super domed sapphire crystal. And we'll get to that in a second. So they are 15.4 millimeters thick, and that super domed sapphire crystal, that's there because the actual chapter ring that goes around, that green chapter ring, as you can see, and I'll hold one by the side and one straight on, it actually sits up. So it's actually angled up towards you, and that's why that dome sapphire crystal is so much depth to the dial. They needed to put a little bit of a dome sapphire crystal, and they put a lot of a dome sapphire crystal. As you can see, it is super domed, but it's part of the character of this watch. It looks gorgeous. I really do like this watch. Scratch that. I love this watch, and when I was wearing it, I felt like, wow, this feels like and looks like a lot more expensive of a watch than it actually is. Even though this watch is not cheap, it is really just the cool factor, the nostalgia factor. It's just a lot of watch for the money. And a lot of people have actually been comparing this to Spring Drive. So Spring Drive from Seiko, Grand Seiko, is very different. The comparison, I could see it because this is sort of like an automatic movement, but this has a capacitor in it where Spring Drive does not. And this actually, when the capacitor goes, you have to replace the capacitor. So this does have essentially a battery. However, this is more like kinetic than it is Spring Drive, I would say, because you have those two electrostatic motors that power this motor, which powers the movement. You have two other motors actually, or one other motor that actually powers the hours and minutes, but those are actually powered by your movement. Now, that actually stores the power in a capacitor. So that means this could last you 10 years without having to replace that capacitor. It could last you 20 years, depending on how long you wear it, how often you wear it. Someone like me who wears different watches on a very regular basis, probably that capacitor would last a long time. But someone who wears it on a day-to-day basis may only get 5 years out of the capacitor, and then they would need to service this. And believe me, the only place you could service this is at Accutron. So I'm sure they're not going to charge a lot of money because Accutron are a reasonable brand, and most of their watches are reasonable. These are probably on their most expensive side. I believe they made the Spaceview that they have also made, the Accutron Spaceview. That has a more traditional case. I believe that's also 43 millimeters or 45 millimeters, somewhere around there. It is a larger watch as well. Has the exact same movement. And I believe that one is $3,400 or $3,500, up to $4,000 for a limited edition. This one comes in at $3,300. Now, I know that sounds like a lot for what essentially is a Bulova, even if they take the name off and put Accutron. Accutron aren't any really different from Bulova, in my opinion, but I respect the brand Bulova. I really like Bulova a lot, and I like Accutron. I think these are just really good looking watches. And $3,300 for what you're getting, it's something extremely special. This is something that is a conversation piece. It has a cool factor to it that you are not going to get from your run-of-the-mill $3,000 watch. I'm sure there are watches out there that look good for $3,000 that are sort of an avant-garde and off-the-wall type of piece, but are you getting it from someplace like Accutron, something with a history, something like this? I really don't think so. There's really not much out there that would compete with this watch. Also, it has a proprietary movement. That electrostatic movement is something that you can't get anywhere else. It's extremely interesting. And I think what Accutron have done here have made something that could be a future classic, a future collectible. Just like their old Spaceviews have become collectible, this will become collectible. A gorgeous watch. I want to have this in my collection. They've come out with this in a few different colors. They came out with a gray blue, a gray black, a gray and gold tone, and a gray and silver tone. So you could see, I believe all of them are gray on these lugs here, and then it's the case itself that are colored. And then of course that skeletonized portion. The blue version is the only one which I think has like a thin layer of sapphire over the actual movement itself, and that is tinted blue. All the rest, as you can see, are just as you can see them here in clear, and you can see the movement in the background, and then that small skeletonized portion which is on top, which is DLC coated, has beveled edges. It looks really good, and like I said, this is something that I found myself looking at quite often, more often than I would look at a movement that had a display case back, a watch that had the display case back, because it's on the dial, and it's not like a skeletonized movement. This has the actual parts that are moving on the dial itself, so on the front side of the watch. Very interesting. You wouldn't want an automatic movement in the front. It would look cheesy, I think. This does not look cheesy. It really pulls this off amazingly. Anyway, I'm going to do plenty of close-ups on this watch, a lot of close-ups of that movement, and I will quickly do a Lume shot, and then we'll wrap up the video, but first impressions on this watch are I am blown away. I'm going to make another video about this watch because I just love it so much. I think it's just so amazing. I really do like this. Anyway, quick Lume shot, then we'll wrap up the video. Okay, there you have it. The Lume shot, really good. Lume is awesome on this watch, and you can see the Lume from the side because of that. The way that the actual crystal and the dial or the minute track is sort of set up. It just looks really good. I'm super impressed with this watch. I can't say it enough. But you guys tell me what you think in the comments below. I know a lot of times I say things like that I fall in love with a watch like this, and you guys sometimes disagree with me. But I think in this case, you have to agree this is something very unique, something very different that no other brand is doing. They pull off a skeletonized sort of watch that is actually quartz. It's interesting to look at. It's something very, very different, out of the ordinary, avant-garde, as I've said in the past. Just something very special, and I'm very impressed by it. I hope you guys are too. But tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Please also don't forget to follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog. I have a bunch of links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. And you can see the Lume just looks pretty good. It's still hanging on. I really like the Lume setup here. It's just sort of on the perimeter, and then the hands. You get some glint of light on that, the polished edges on the actual dial portion. It looks really cool. Anyway, tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to hear from you. Thanks for logging on, guys. I'll catch you in the next video.